okay, you're starting a new company and .com is taken. Is it still beneficial to go with, I don't know, there's several other dots that will be offered to you. Is that wise to try to do that, or just change your name, blow up the other BIF? What do you do?
Well, I would tell you that you'd want to start, when people start a company, I tell them to let the, it sounds crazy, but let the domain drive part of what you name your company. So if your name is, if you have another person doing BIFsrepair.com, carrepair.com, and if you could come up with something else, I would come up with something else, and I would retain .com, and I also would buy .biz, .ed, I mean, I'd buy it all.
Okay.
Do not let .net go away. Don't let .biz go away. You could probably get away with I do .org, but I couldn't .edu. And some of those you don't need. These are the big four. This one, and org. The other thing I tell you is when you have a child or grandchild, you buy their name as a domain name immediately. Because it sounds funny, but let's say your child grows up and some porno king, just to be hyperbolic about it, has that domain name, and you got your child's name. Somebody types in your child's name, here comes all this pornography. You don't want that. So you want to buy your domain name, your name, as soon as you can. Tie it up, even if you never use it. I don't use my own name in my website, but I own that name. So anyway, so you want to have your domain name match. So your URL would be, so let's say your BIFs, or even just BIFs.com, right? And then your first menu item would be / let's say car repair. The next one would be car wash. The next one would be car, see what I mean? You start to repeat the word car, and you build your domain around the word BIF. Problematic that you can't do any punctuation in your web code. You can't have the apostrophe S. For #nextchapter, we couldn't do the hashtag, so we had to write out the word hash. But that was okay, so it gets the point across. So I have there's a friend of mine who actually has a little company in campus, and he wanted very badly to have better SEO, search engine optimization, and he was having a difficult time beating out his competitors. So let me show you what he did for him. So here we go. So he was doing window coverings, and what happened was you would type in window coverings Vancouver, Washington, and you get everybody but him. And it's a tiny business. He really wanted to improve his business and survive. And this was right when the downturn was happening. And so you notice, though, when you read this page, see all the things that are here on this map? Those are considered the bought ads. So you can buy ads on Google, which puts you at the top of the sites. I never call companies that have bought ads, ever. I always trust spiders more than bought ads. Right? So the spider's collecting data that I think is very valuable. It's much more valuable than buying an ad. Right? So anyway, so starting with the blind eye all the way down, the budget blinds, Vancouver window coverings, all of these, he wasn't showing up here, right? And so what he wanted to do was do a better job. So what we did is I went through every one of his main competitors and we looked at the site. We looked at the coding. We looked at the user friendliness of the site, because it's not just about how many hits you get, it's also how long people stay at your site. The general amount that people stay at a website is 6 seconds or less. So if you're getting them to stay more than 6 seconds, that's significant. And the spiders can figure out how long your IP has been sitting there because the cookies are sitting there for a long time. And you're shooting out all this information. So I collected who his competitors were, and then I analyzed the site with him. We looked at colors, we looked at coding, we looked at pictures, we looked at everything we could possibly look at on that site. So here's one, the blind guy. Here's the creative blind and design portable window treatments. They beat him. Blinds and crochets were beating him. The drapery man was beating him. These are not pretty sites, people. These aren't attractive sites. So this tells you, one more thing, this tells you that it's not just about aesthetics, right? Yes, sir.
Your aesthetics will keep people what you're saying.
People, yeah, that is kind of like the icing on the cake. So you shoot for the analytics pieces first, and then you add the user-friendly aesthetics second. So it's UI, which is user experience, user interface, and UX, which is user experience. And that sits with coding and all the other pieces that go together to make a good website. So going back, what I was trying to do is do a comparative analysis. Excuse me. One second. Okay, I have cats. A lot of them. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is a strategic analysis. Look to see what other people are doing. The other thing I ask people to think about is, what are they trying to achieve with the website? We have a little handout we give out to people. There are 14 things we want you to answer. Who's your audience? Audiences. What's your purpose? What's the point? You know, what's the general idea behind your website? What's the point of it? I also ask them to look to see how many pages they currently have on their website. How much stuff is so redundant that people are just kind of moving off the pages really fast and not finding what they need. You know, so I get them to do an analysis of their competitors, but also themselves, analysis of their own site. And then we do a keyword analysis. So what are people going to look for when they're looking for your kind of business? Well, for him, it was window coverings. It was drapery. He didn't have drapery as one of his keywords. He didn't have curtains. Curtains is a big word. If you're female and you're looking for something on your windows, you're looking for curtains, right? Shades. What else? What are some of the other ones you might want to think about? Blinds. I mean, there was just a whole bunch of things that you could put down as a list of things that would be something that people would type. So we began to compile this list of kind of like normal stuff that people would use. Vancouver, Washington, Camas, Washington, Washougal, Washington. All of these areas, we put that in. And then we began to consolidate this information into types so that we can develop a menu. So what's cool about this is that your menu is also a big part of how you develop your websites. So if you have keywords that are coming in that are, let's say, curtains, drapes, window coverings, blinds, how would you group that? Would you put that all under one menu item, or would you group this differently to get some more momentum going? And how would you divide this information up? Products would be another way of doing it. But if you're going to take this particular information, what could you do to really make it easy to find information, which is nice for your customer, but also give you some legs for search engine findability? Are draperies the same as blinds? No. So maybe on a menu you'd have, what I recommended to him is have drapery. Another menu item, blinds. Another menu item, general covering. Now, not only do we have the information in the body, but we're repeating it in the menu. It's huge. So this means that, now to go back to my argument that the spiders are reading this from top to bottom, left to right, where's your menu normally, people? At the top. So now you've got your key things, your keyword analysis words are sitting right there. They're not down here, they're not over here, they're right there, and they're repeated here. Yes, ma'am?
Any difference with drop-down menus rather than single tab menus?
As long as you're hand-coded stuff and you're not using images. Sometimes there was a time when we were using kind of pictures and you tap on the pictures, not a good idea. Also, one other thing I want to mention is if you're using some companies will have a proprietary content management system. Banks are notorious for this. car industry has their own CMS, it's called CMS, and they're not friendly to search engines. WordPress is where a lot of people are using today for their company websites. WordPress only in the last, I think, 2 years has become friendly to search engine. And now it's very friendly. Drupal is finally friendly to search engines. When I first started teaching Drupal years ago, you couldn't use search engine optimization with it. It would totally just annihilate any searchability. So I would tell companies not to use Drupal. Now it's part of the system. You know, so some of your company's CMSs, if somebody comes and tries to sell you a package, it's got your inventory in it, it's got your website in it, it's got all this stuff in it, be careful. Make sure it's friendly to search engines before you spend that $50,000 for that package.
How do you find Google's rules that keep changing?
I've got it right here for you. Actually, I have a nice, if you look at the resources, see the one that says SEO, the beginner's guide, htmlmoz.com. That's a really nice site. And it's got the most updated information that I can find. And I looked at it again today, and it's good. So you might want to stay with Moz. I also recommend that you subscribe to Mashable. And Mashable is like Mashable. Mashable. And Mashable comes out all day long with information about search engines, Facebook, Twitter, social media. So it's really helpful to subscribe to Mashable, and I read it all day long. Right. So just some sites like that, yes, sir.
Did you optimize for Google's rules? Will it work for Yahoo and Bing?
Yahoo and Bing are about 6% of the market. Bing has some of its own rules. I optimize for all of them. I follow Google, and then I'll go back through and add in Bing, and Yahoo. I mean, I don't want to have to follow Google because I don't like Google right now. I'm mad at Google. I've been mad at Google since China. But I've also mad at Apple about China too. But I still have an Apple computer. So, you know, the bottom line is I try to optimize for everything. You don't want to leave anything out. You know, you're kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face. Okay, and then finally, the last couple of things here is off-page optimization. Okay, off-page optimization. You see the words there. So what I told this man, Mr. Windows, he belonged to a network of Mr. something. So Mr. Electric, Mr. Plumber, Mr. I forgot, there's like a whole list of them. And they were all friends, and they all drank coffee together at IHOP over by Van Mall. And I met with them all and did the same kind of chat with them several years ago. And I said, you guys are friends, right? And they said, yeah. And I said, so somebody who needs a driveway is not competing with somebody who needs curtains, right? Right. Then why don't you cross-listing your links? Why don't you have a web page on your website that has recommendations for other services and put your friends' websites on there? Because if you do, then what happens is if my website address is on your web page and Google's reading your web page, it comes to my link. It's reading my web address on URL and it goes, oh, let's check that web address and see if it's real. And it goes out, it actually leaves, puts one of its 8 legs on your page, and it runs off to my page. He goes, oh, look, it's really working. This is a live link. This means that this site is good, you get points, and this site is cool, and it gets points. All boats float. What a concept. So the first thing they did, they went home and they put all their web pages a recommendation page of other services that are part of their network. And they backlink, it's called backlinking. And they backlink to each other. That gave them 10 more possible hits. And their findings went up. Their findability improved. So in your case, VDA is on your site, isn't it? VDA is on your site?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think you even have WSU on your site. You know, and my program site, if you go to my site, I need to put you on there, Dan, now. We're working together. If you go back to my site, I have what's called supporters. And guess what I'm doing? I'm not just mentioning them because I like them, but I'm also linking back to them. So now they all have backlinks. And for companies like Dick Hanna and Billy Dean and Sleep Country, this is huge, right? Because what happens is we are an EDU, And EDUs are considered really valuable links because people can't cheat with EDUs. They can cheat with .coms, but you can't cheat with an EDU. You know the university exists. You know that high school exists. So when I link to them, that gives them more points than if I was a .com, which is interesting. So this is worth a little bit to them as much as they're, just saying that I like them. Thank you. So here's everybody that's worked with me, on projects or donating money to our program. And then our advisory board and all their backlinks to their companies. So if you have a company and you have friends that you're doing business with or comparable businesses that you're not competing with, then link to them for God's sakes. And ask them to link to you. Does that make sense? I think that's the one thing about Google I do like. The notion of collaboration is there. It's kind of cool. So it's part of that link building idea. And then finally, the measurement, monitoring, control, and adjustments. And that's what I'm showing you through the stat counter and Google Analytics. Looking through all that information. So I'm going to go back to that site for just a second. Some other things that I can look at that I think are valuable are visitor link. So I'm on my CNBC site now. I want to show you what drives me crazy about my site and what I've got to work on this summer. See all that green? That's less than 5 seconds, people. 75% of people hitting my site are there for less than 5 seconds. That's not good in my world. I need to fix that. So this summer, that's my goal, is to fix that problem. But look at the repeat business. Look at longer than an hour. That's a nice chunk, 10% longer than an hour. I want more yellow, less green. I also get to see where they came from. So not only actually everything is the map. I love the map. Every once in a while I send this to my bosses to show them drawing diverse cultures. But look at the map. People from all over the world looking at CNBC, and I'm wondering, what the hell are they looking at? What am I doing that's getting me looking at this?
They're going to knock you off.
They're going after me, yeah. They're going to build a program down in Argentina.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. But I really like the fact that people, when during the Iraq War, and folks from Iraq were looking at my site. I was like, that grandson. Interesting. So anyway, so I kind of watched that. I'm interested in that. And then I'm also interested in where people come and go from. So when they came from. Notice that I can also see what drove them to my site sometimes. So they came from the Temple and Overland workshops. They came from #chapter drove some of this traffic. My own personal web pages took them to my department pages. Bing, there's Bing right there for you. Bing search. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then the battle of the browsers. There's something for you also that is interesting. Browser wars. Just to give you this. Chrome is driving a lot of traffic now, 45%. And this is important. Why? Folks that do coding.
Because you want to know who to optimize for.
Yeah, and what do we mean by that?
Well, oftentimes, I know when developing certain sites, they look differently on Chrome than they do on Firefox. Firefox is much more developer-friendly, but Chrome is much more like user-friendly. So oftentimes if you develop something, only look at it in Firefox, and then you look at it in Chrome, it looks completely different. So it's good to make sure that you're checking all these different sources to make sure that your stuff looks how you want it to look on all different platforms.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to see Internet Explorer is only 5% because it really doesn't read JavaScript. And JavaScript gives that interactivity to a website. So you have a website with lots of really interesting things going on. Internet Explorer won't read it generally, or it makes it look screwy. Web crawlers, look at that. Mobile browsers, that's growing. Firefox, Safari is pretty big for my world. Still, lots of folks are still Apple people. Okay, so anyway, so that's a little bit about the search and optimization. Look at that. Blue is a really popular color in the web world. That's the other thing about user experience. People don't like red because red is a symbol for passion. It's a symbol for blood. Violence. All of those things.
Debt.
Red is
Debt.
Debt. Yeah, in the red. It's not a good metaphor. Blue, on the other hand, is cool, easy on the eyes. You read them easier. It's
Good
also softer.
It's good luck in training.
Good luck, yeah, good luck. And so we see a lot of blue. If you look at your apps, the app icons on your phones, a lot of blue. Facebook is blue, Twitter is blue. You know, so there's a reason for that. What we do in the Pacific Northwest, you can always tell a Pacific Northwest site because there's lots of greens and blues and browns, right? And lots of pine trees. You can always tell I'm looking at a site in this area. And notice what they did with a little bit of this menu here, this little panache, I call it. What is that evocative of? A river. So they're trying to be creative in the way they present the city, right? City of Vancouver. And then notice what they have at the bottom of Vancouver.
Washington.
Because you know immediately you're not in the Canada, Vancouver, right? So they've done some things here that I think are really smart. Notice where they put the menus. There's two main menus when you land on this page. This is called the landing page. Where's the first menu? Across the top in that blue river. And where's the second one?
The bottom.
Where?
The bottom.
No, actually there's one before that. So this is the right hand. Now why do we put, a lot of companies put them here. Why is it not a good idea to put them here sometimes?
Reading left to right, you go by.
Yeah. So this is stuff that's not, I mean, these are things that they feel like are not necessarily important. They want to leave this side open, leave that kind of park place real estate a little bit more usable for something else. They've got main menu at the top. They also have other menu items. Down at the bottom they have another menu here. So they have lots of menus because it's a lot of material, right? They repeat the logo here, the old logo's there. And the blue is all the way across. I'm going to make it smaller so we can see the whole thing now. So now we can see the whole page. Look at where your eye goes. So when you look at this site, where does your eye go immediately?
Well, to the part that's changing.
To the part that's changing. Why is that?
Movement, we're visual.
Yeah, so if you want to get someone's attention, have some things moving on the site. Now in the old days, in the 90s and the aughts, you would go to these websites and you have hamsters dancing and, I mean, if you go to an auto dealer site, usually it's like 1,000 things, so I can't take in information. I can't look at all of these auto dealer site. But here, one thing moving, not a bad thing. Sliders are not bad if they're not going too fast. If they're going too fast, nobody can read them. So you want them to move slowly. Notice the beat on this thing. Long enough for you to read. Not too long where it's stagnant, right? Then let's just kind of count it. So there's a beat to it. Where else? And once you look at that, then where does your eye go?
Below it.
Your eye goes down, doesn't it? So really and truly, what's kind of missing on the site is looking at the City of Vancouver, Washington logo. We're really starting right here and going down.